name is Tebogo Malope. The streets call me Tebza. I'm a film director, producer, writer. Yeah, I've been in the game. Next year, 2025, I'll be 20 years in the game.
Yeah.
I've done everything there is to do, from commercials, music videos, feature films, docu series, the likes, and pretty much won everything there is to win except for an Emmy and an Oscar.
The Lord of Netflix.
And that's still coming.
You're the Lord of Netflix. That's what you left out.
Well, Netflix, Showmax, SABC.
The biggest in the game.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay, my brother. So, winning 11 Golden Horns is a massive achievement. What does this recognition mean for you and your career?
I think winning awards is great, and I think for us film practitioners, the SAFTA specifically, because it's our peers that are actually judging, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you're in a different industry, you get external people judging.
Yeah.
You know, there's this sort of popular vote where people are SMSing and they say, we want the river.
Yeah, we want the river.
Yeah, but for the specific awards that we won, it is our peers. It is guys that we grew up watching. It's guys that a lot of them mentored me. It's the Desirées, the Anguses. It's the guys that we working side by side. It's other guys that are coming up, but we're in the same space.
You're in the same
space. And for those
people,
for those practitioners to look at your work and say you deserve the wins, that's an exciting thing.
It's an exciting thing.
You know, as you know, when you're a student, you know, the one thing that you hunger for is to feel like you belong in that space. You know,
you want to be recognized.
You want to be recognized. You know, you want somebody to say, this guy is one of us. So, but an award is not only saying you are part of us, you are with us. It's saying, hey, you hit it at the highest.
At the highest. It's more than validation.
It's more than validation, and so for me, it's great. It's I love it. I always say, you know, a lot of filmmakers say, it's not about the awards.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, partly. But I think for me, winning is as great as the process.
But then, as you mentioned, that some of the filmmakers say it's not about the awards. How do you feel as someone that's reached your level and being judged by your peers?
Yeah, I guess it's one thing to say it's not about the awards, but if it wasn't for the awards, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. Do you know what I'm saying? And so it's not about the award as a concept, yes, because we don't do it for the award. We do it for the joy and the passion of making a film. But the recognition helps amplify one's voice, right? And you want your voice to be amplified because we have to give back, and we have to talk to other young people, and we have to encourage and motivate. And the awards help to elevate and amplify someone's voice. So yes, both statements are true.
Yeah.
It's not about the award because it's about the process.
It's about the process.
But the awards help amplify
who
voice.
You are and your work.
Exactly.
Quality. So you are hosting a talk called Lessons from Bombing, focusing on failure. Can you share a specific bombing moment and the lesson it taught you?
Yeah, lessons from bombing.
Yeah.
It's actually a very good plug from the previous question. Because, you know, I guess a lot of social media, everybody has a tendency to sanitize their life and sanitize their world, right? And especially filmmakers, where it's all about showing the wins, the red carpets, the lights, and whatnot. And for me, like I said earlier, I think the first half of that it's not about the awards, it's about enjoying the process, right? It's for me, I would like this talk I'm doing on Saturday, Lessons from Bombing, to encourage young people to fall in love with the process, to go, whether I fail or I succeed, I enjoyed the ride.
Continue.
Yeah, the reward was the ride, you know. The
That's
reward
powerful.
was looking for the idea, was doing the idea, was the work. And the moment that's the work, I think young people are going to be free to be themselves, to be creative and whatnot.
True.
And whether you win or you don't, doesn't necessarily matter. And so that for me, that's where initially the idea started. You know, for me, I still I'm a perpetual. I'm a student of the game, and the biggest lessons that I have learned, I learned from failing. from making bad ideas, from making bad choices. That's what I would like to convey on Saturday, to say a lot of the greatest lessons that we're going to learn, or I've learned, I learned from failing. Right? And I'll tell you one simple story, and I'm only going to tell you one.
Yeah.
I won't tell you the facts.
Yeah.
I won't tell you the details.
Okay.
You come on Saturday and you'll hear the full story.
Yeah, I'm definitely coming.
So
I can't miss out, bro.
So I was shooting a commercial for this massive global brand, and with this agency, which is a massive global agency.
Yeah.
And the commercial was set at a terminal, at an airport terminal. Now my whole team, from my producers to everybody involved, they said, we need to find a small airport that we can contain, that we can manage, maybe Lanzaria, maybe the Rand Club. But at that point, I was Dave, I was a rock star, I said, nah, I want Oartambu, they're like, whoa,
the biggest.
I said, no,
International.
I want the biggest or nothing.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, we advised against it. I said, hey man, I'm Tebogo Malope. I want the biggest airport in the country.
And you deserve it.
Right. So they're like, okay, cool. And then I said, and I don't only just want the biggest airport, I want the international departures terminals.
Big quote.
I want to lock off the international departures for a shoot.
And where was the confidence coming from?
Yeah, exactly. And so because of the previous wins and whatnot, I felt I became cocky, arrogant, and I was like, if I say it, it needs to happen the way I want it to happen. It has to. So anyway, the team went ahead because I've got a very strong, solid team. Yeah. So we're able to get permits. I think we're pretty much the first and only production house that managed to lock off Tambo International departures.
That's an award on its own. I remember he has done it.
But the shoot was a disaster. We couldn't stand here, we couldn't stand there. We needed to be in at this time.
Oh, there were restrictions,
at that time. Blah, 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 blah. So I ended up actually only filming for about an hour over 2 days.
Sure.
And so when I got to edit, I didn't necessarily have enough footage, didn't have enough moments to rehearse.
That must have driven you crazy.
I couldn't put lights there, I couldn't do that. And so the whole team was frustrated, but they couldn't look at me and say, we told you.
Yeah, of course, you're the big guy in the room, and you're the boss.
As a result, the client, the agency, pretty much blackballed me. They said, we're never going to work with you ever again because you made a decision, and that decision cost us millions, and it flopped. And that was one moment where I realized that it's very easy, especially when you start doing really well, it's very easy for your ego to run away with you. And it's that moment where I stopped, I paused, I said, you know what? It's not Tebogo Malope. It's more than 100 people on set with me that are working on this one thing. Yes, I'm the guy that goes on stage and says the speech, but it's all of us. I represent more than 100 people. And so that's one thing I needed to learn, and I learned very quickly because of that failed commercial.
Wow. So what do you see as the biggest hurdle for South African filmmakers today, and how do you overcome similar challenges?
I mean, the biggest hurdle is always money, number one.
Funding, true.
It's always funding. It's just, that's the source of most of the challenges. So I'd say money, funding. I'd say access to funding. The second thing, I think, as an industry, as South Africans, we are exposed to a lot of international stuff, which is a good thing. But exposure can also be a bad thing, because then our own voices gets sort of watered down. Because we got Netflix, we got Showmax, we got all of these, so we are able to see what the US is doing, what the Koreans are doing, and whatnot. But we're seeing everybody else now without us as a country having formed our own voice. True. And so as a result, every piece of work that comes out of South Africa, it's like a version, of what the other guys are doing.
Copy and paste.
Exactly. And so for me, I think, besides funding and money, I think as an industry, as filmmakers, and especially you guys in film schools and whatnot, is for us to start intentionally trying to find our voice. You know, it's for us to go, who are you really? What kind of stories do we like telling? How do we like telling them? And I think once we can develop that voice and find that voice and a style, I think our industry is just going to explode. Because people are looking for our stories, and they're looking for them the way we tell them.
Yeah.
Even Hollywood, right? Even, you know, the Asians are fortunate because they found our voice a long time ago. You would know an Asian film from like the first few seconds when it shows up, right? Hollywood have found their voice a while ago. I could even argue that Nollywood has its own voice.
It does. No, I agree. Nollywood is actually quality for me.
You know what I'm saying?
Even though they're not at peak.
You know what I'm saying? I could even argue Bollywood. I mean, you know a Bollywood film when you see it. But if I say to you, what's a South African film? You know,
maybe it's Oti.
Yeah, but still, what is that style?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Still American.
So yes, Kevin Hood did really well with that thing,
True.
with that film. But we didn't sort of look at it, distill it, and say, okay, what are the elements of Tsotsi that make us us? And how do we then package ourselves as South African storytellers and say this is what we can offer the rest of the world as a collective? And so I think those are the two challenges that I think we need to be a lot more intentional in solving.
Okay, so talking about projects, I would like to know, how do you decide which stories are worth telling, especially those that resonate strongly with South African audience?
How do I decide which stories to tell? I always say the stories come to me. I don't go to the stories. I know it sounds very woo-woo, but it's true for me. Is I know exactly what story to tell because it'll come to me. And
it comes to you.
Funny enough, some stories come in a dream.
Wow.
Some of them I hear this inner voice. I was telling somebody yesterday an interesting story about when I did Spirit, the music video.
Yes, the music quest.
I heard the song once and I knew exactly what the music video was gonna look like, and I knew that I was gonna shoot it. And
apparently you did no casting for that.
And then we cast real people from Katlego.
Sure.
And then I was at gym, and then 4 hours later, Caster's manager calls me, and as I answer the phone, I said, "It's about the video, right?" And they said yes. And then that's
something
how we made
special.
So a lot of the stories come to me. They, you know, and by come to me, I mean, every day people approach me. Can you tell this story? Can you do that? But the one that comes to me tells me.
It tells you.
This is the story that
you take it serious, and it happens.
And it happens.
Damn. That's powerful. So your work often reflects the South African culture. How do you balance staying true to local stories while appealing to the global audience?
Yeah, this question about how to stay true to local audiences while appealing to global audiences is partly what I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
It's, I guess for me, it's that pursuit of what is the South African story voice.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because for me, once you find the story is universal.
Yes.
And it's global. You know, once everybody around the world knows a love story, everybody around the world knows a rom-com, everybody around the world knows an action film. But
they relate.
But they can relate. But what is it about us? How do we tell it in our own way? Wow. And so for me, it feels like it's the pursuit. You know, it's really the pursuit. I don't feel like I've figured it out. I'm blessed enough to have done shows like Queen Sono that's global, that has some global appeal. I'm blessed enough to have done shows like Classifieds on Netflix that's now playing on Amazon in the US. I've got a series that's coming out for the NBA with Barack Obama is in it and J. Cole is in it. So I'm blessed enough that the work that I'm doing to some extent has global appeal.
Yeah, it has global appeal.
But for me, it's like the global appeal, I guess, it feels easy to me for some reason.
Yeah.
I think the hard part is how do I find that voice
and resonate with the locals
of South African stories? And that's the thing I'm still trying to figure out. Still haven't figured it out yet, but that's my pursuit. Sure. And with every story that comes to me and every project that comes to me, the first question is that how do I package it in a way and tell it in a way that resonates with myself first? Because if it resonates with me, it will resonate with the other person.
True.
Yeah. And so that's usually the question. How does it resonate to me as a South African? And how can I tell it in a uniquely South African way? I don't think I've figured it out yet.
Yeah.
I'm still on the pursuit.
A lot of people are still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
But right now, I'd like to speak about Outlaws, the impact. So, Outlaws recently took over 8 SAFTAs. What do you think it was about this series that connected so deeply with viewers?
Outlaws is a crazy production. Every time I talk or think about Outlaws, I get so much trauma.
I can imagine.
I get so much flashbacks. It was hard. It was a slog. We shot in Bergville and into Lesotho.
Sure.
We would, drive at least 2 hours every morning to get to set, and then hike for a couple of minutes, for 30 minutes, hike to go to a specific location. It would rain constantly. We're dealing with some weird things.
do you want to mention some of those weird things?
I'll tell you one thing. So one of the opening scenes, the lead is on a horse, and Tladi is practicing shooting this. Right. I wanted to shoot that scene at this river that you had to hike down to get to, and I wanted a dolly and a track down there, but it's the hike is quite steep, so everybody was like, "Oh my God, can we actually do this?" But we went for it. So we hiked down, we get down there, we set up the camera. As soon as I call roll camera, it starts raining.
Sure.
Oh my God, and now the steep is like this, and it's all slippery.
Yeah, and
so we're like, okay, you know what, let's cut cameras, let's pack up, let's go back up. We go back up, we get back up, the rain stops, it clouds open
it
up,
clears up.
gets sunny. We go down again.
It starts raining.
Roll camera, it starts raining again.
Yeah.
We said, you know what, let's actually leave this scene, we'll get back to it tomorrow.
It's some spiritual stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what us Africans would
no,
think.
Exactly. That's what everybody was saying. It's so it took us 5 attempts each time. Sunny, start rolling.
And you kept on hiking up and down.
Hike up and down for 3 days.
The team must have hated you.
They did, of course.
All that exercise.
Of course, the grips and the locals were like, "Nah, man, we can't keep carrying this heavy thing down there."
Sure.
But eventually we got it. So it was tough. I mean, that every day after rap, it was just tears, tears. But usually those ones, because somewhat there's a force that's sort of pushing back for a reason, And so when we won, it made sense. Everybody backstage, the whole crew, the producers, were just in tears because the time, the effort. We're dealing with horses, we're dealing with animals, we're dealing with cows, we're dealing with rain, we're dealing with weird elements. On set, it was tense,
It was too tense,
even between the crew, even between ourselves. Yet, we pushed through. And it's a beautiful story that cuts across Lesotho and KZN.
Yes.
I think the language thing was also a beautiful thing that people really loved,
So as someone who's been in the game for over 20 years.
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years. I'm taking it's over. Okay, so where do you hope to see South African cinema in 5 years? And how do you plan to contribute to this vision?
So I've been in the game for 20 years. Actually, next year is going to be quite a fun year for me. And you'll see, I guess...
2025.
I guess 2025. I guess Saturday is like the first step of what I'm planning to do next year, which is give back to the game, and give back to the culture. I think I'm a product of the culture. The culture gave me a lot. It gave me a lot, and half the time I didn't even deserve it. And so for me, as my hope for the industry moving forward is that more filmmakers, more of my peers, fall in love with the idea of giving back. Because I think the more we give back, the better the game becomes, the better the culture feeds us and others that come after us. Like I mentioned earlier, this industry is hardcore. It's hard. It's rough. Passion consumes you. So we need each other. And so what I hope for the game moving forward is, yes, it's highly competitive, and that's the thing. For instance, in commercials, every commercial that we do, we pitch against 2 other directors, right?
Competition.
So there's always a sense of competition. But because there's competition, it's easy for us to start seeing each other as competition, right?
Yeah,
and it's like, hey, pause.
Yeah.
So there's some of the things that I've intentionally tried to do is to go to the friends and other directors that I pitch against and to remind each other. Like once a month, we often meet up for dinners and lunches and remind each other that we're not competition. We are here for each other. We're here to help each other.
Finally, what's one piece of advice you'd give to young filmmakers who want to make their mark in the industry? So basically, these are the people that are coming on Saturday that we're going to be sitting with and listening to you.
One advice I'd give about young people wanting to make their mark, I'd say don't think about making a mark. Forget that. Just I always say let your feet stay grounded and be in the moment, but allow your eyes to see the future. But the problem is, a lot of young filmmakers come in and they're like, I want to be the director.
Yeah, that's what we want.
I want an Oscar. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
But actually, it's a process. And like I mentioned in the previous answer, for me, when I walked on that set, as a camera intern, cable bashing, I said, if this is what I do for the rest of my life, I'll be happy.
You'll be happy.
I said I would die a happy man. If when I die, they say Debza was the best cable basher in the world.
So you were passionate about everything.
I was like, I'll be the happiest man. Yeah. And so I feel like young people should forget making a mark.
Yeah.
Just understand that if you're passionate about story and storytelling, once you start, you're in there. You're a storyteller. That's it. You're contributing to this most glorious and beautiful venture that we're doing. We're just trying to tell stories, taking up a mirror and showing it back to society and getting people to see themselves for who they are. What a beautiful thing to be part of. Whether you're bashing cables, whether you are wrangling horses, whether you're producing, whether you're directing, whether you're editing, or you're that guy making coffee, you are part of this magical thing that we're doing. So forget about making a mark. Focus on being in the moment and enjoying the ride. Oh, what a ride it's going to be.
That's powerful. Thank you, my brother.